Hallå och välkomna till det senaste avsnittet av min Lilla Bokhörna. Jag hade lite uppehåll förra veckan i med påsken, men nu är jag tillbaka igen. Idag ska vi titta på The Shadow Factory, James Bamfords andra bok i min samling. Den förra, Body of Secrets, pratade ju om NSAs historia. Och det här är en fortsättning kan man säga. Den är skriven 2008 och den här utgåvan kom ut 2009. Den är på engelska. First Anchor Books Edition. Han är intressant på många sätt. Framförallt kanske för att han var ju den som mer eller mindre upptäckte NSA eller fick upp det på tapeten för allmänheten. Han har skrivit ett par böcker i ämnet. Men låt oss läsa introduktionen. Och så får vi hoppas att ni tycker om den. The Shadow Factory av James Bamford. Introduction. In northern Georgia, near the South Carolina border, a few miles from Leborda's grits and gravy, and the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, one of the most secret facilities in the world is undergoing a major expansion. When completed, it will likely be the largest eavesdropping facility ever created, employing more than 4,000 civilian and military voice interceptors and other specialists. Run by the ultra-secret National Security Agency, it is where the agency eavesdrops on the Middle East and North Africa, thousands of miles away. Inside, behind barbed wire fences, heavily armed guards and cipher-locked doors, earphone-clad men and women secretly listen in as Al-Qaeda members chat on cell phones along the Afghan border, and to insurgents planning attacks in Iraq. They also target and record American citizens in that region, including business people, journalists, and Red Cross workers, as they engage in intimate conversations with their spouses back home and discuss confidential matters and business deals. A lot of time you could tell they were calling their families, said one of the NSA intercept operators who listened in on the Americans. Incredibly intimate, personal conversations. Basically all rules were thrown out the window, and they would use any excuse to justify a waiver to spy on Americans. By 2008, the NSA had become the largest, most costly, and most technologically sophisticated spy organization the world has ever known. It had also become the most intrusive, secretly filtering millions of phone calls and emails an hour, international and domestic, through equipment programmed to watch and listen for hundreds of thousands of names and phone numbers. To sift through it all, the agency has the world's largest collection of data-eating supercomputers. Its newest codename, Black Widow, is a colossal $17.5 million Cray computer made up of 16 tall cabinets crammed with thousands of processors. It is able to achieve speeds of hundreds of teraflops, hundreds of trillions of operations a second, and the NSA predicts that it will soon break the petaflop barrier, flying through phone calls, emails, and other data at more than a quadrillion operations a second. In its manic drive for information, the agency requires a city-sized headquarters complex that consumes so much energy that it is now in real danger of running out of power and going dark. It has already run out of space to store all of its data in which it is now drowning, according to the Congressional Research Service. Whereas some observers once predicted that the NSA was in danger of becoming proverbially deaf due to the spreading use of encrypted communications, the report said. It appears that NSA may now be at greater risk of being drowned in information. The report added, some intelligence data sources grow at the rate of 4 petabytes per month now, and the rate of growth is increasing. In a year at that rate, the NSA's massive database would hold at least 48 petabytes, the equivalent of nearly 1 billion four-door filing cabinets full of documents. It would also be equal to about 24 trillion pages of text. Among the few who know just how much data flows into the NSA is Eric C. Hasseltine, the former head of Disney's Imagineering Labs. Hasseltine was appointed as the agency's associate director for research in 2002. 2 years later, he noted that even the NSA's enormous computer power has trouble keeping up with the flow. We in the NSA are encountering problems with the flood of information that people in the outside world won't see for a generation or two, he said. We've been into the future and we've seen the problems of a tidal wave of data. He added, we can either be drowned by it or we can get on our surfboard and surf it and let it propel us. And of course, that's what we're trying to do. If indeed the data flowing to the NSA is what the outside world will see 2 to 4 decades from now, the amount of information the agency is ingesting is truly astronomical. In fact, it might be rapidly moving from measuring the data by the petabyte to measuring it by the exabyte, which is 1,000 petabytes. By way of perspective, 200 petabytes is the equivalent of all printed material. 5 exabytes, that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 nollor. 5 exabytes, on the other hand, represents enough information to fill 37,000 new libraries of Congress and more than all the words ever printed. This is the annual equivalent of the 30-foot stack of books for every man, woman, and child on the planet. No longer able to store all the intercepted phone calls and emails in its secret city, the agency has now built a new data warehouse in San Antonio, Texas. Costing renovations upwards of $130 million, the 470,000 square foot facility will be almost the size of the Alamodome. Considering how much data can now be squeezed onto a small flash drive, the new NSA building may eventually be able to hold all the information in the world. The principal end product of all that data and all that processing is a list of names, the watch list of people, both American and foreign, thought to pose a danger to the country. Once containing just 20 names, today it is made up of an astonishing 500,000, and it grows rapidly every day. Most of the list are neither terrorists nor a danger to the country, and many are there simply by mistake. Some of the many innocent people on the list may discover their situation when they are tossed off a plane, as happened numerous times to Massachusetts Senator Ted Kennedy. Others, however, may never know. Instead, their application for a small business administration loan may be turned down without there even being given a reason. Or the application of a bright son or daughter for admittance into one of the military academies may be rejected without explanation. Or, because the names are shared with foreign governments, a person can be turned away after landing in London for a vacation or business trip without being told why. Known as the Terrorist Identity Data Mart Environment, or TIDE, it is the mother of all watch lists. The watch list from which all others, including the Do Not Fly list, are derived. Nevertheless, it sits ingloriously on a dated and inexpensive Dell laptop in the basement of the National Counterterrorism Center, maintained by the CIA. In early September 2001, there was no TIDE, and the NSA was a little-noticed agency attempting to downsize by a third and searching for a mission. A few days later, it found its new mission. A mission that began with a phone call intercepted from a house on a dusty back street in Yemen. Det är alltså 2001, attacken på World Trade Center, som han går igenom i den här boken, och vad som inte fungerade och fungerar. Jag har inte hunnit läsa den här själv. Det är en av många böcker som har kommit till mig via andra böcker. Tyvärr så ändrar man inriktning ibland och man läser ett par böcker i ett ämne, sen hoppar man över till ett annat ämne och så vidare och så vidare. Så ni kommer ju märka att det är en hel del olika ämnen i mitt bibliotek. Men jag tror säkert den här är väldigt intressant. Så den ska vi ta oss an ändå. Nästa vecka ska vi kika på Jag vill förändra världen. Svensk bok för en skull. Percy Barnevik känner säkert de flesta utav er till. En av Sveriges mest kända företagsledare genom tiderna kanske. Heller ingen bok som jag har läst, men det kommer. Den ska vi kika på nästa vecka. Tills vidare så får ni ha en riktigt god helg och var rädd om er ute. Ciao!